There's a certain kind of person who quietly trains their brain every day. And once you know the signs, you start seeing them everywhere. It's not about how much they talk or how many degrees they have. It's something subtler. The way they carry themselves in a stressful moment, the way they sit comfortably in silence, the way they can change their mind without falling apart. These are the psychological fingerprints of a trained mind. And in this video, we're not going to talk about study tips or routines. We're going deeper into the 7 psychological signs of someone who trains their brain every single day. We'll look at what those signs quietly reveal about how their mind actually works. Watch closely, because you'll probably recognize a few of them in yourself. If you appreciate this type of content, gently tap that like button. Now let's get into it. One quick thing before we start. None of these signs are fixed traits you're born with. They're the visible side effects of a trained brain. And the brain is a muscle, so anyone can build them. That's the whole idea of this channel. So as we go, don't treat this as a personality test you either pass or fail. Treat it as a mirror. Some of these you'll already see in yourself. Others will show you exactly where there's room to grow. Either way, every one of them can be trained. All right, the 7 signs. Sign number 1. They're completely comfortable in their own head. Hand most people 10 minutes alone, no phone, no music, nothing to do, and they start to squirm. The silence feels almost unbearable. But someone who trains their brain has a different relationship with their own mind. They actually enjoy its company. Left alone with their thoughts, they don't reach for an escape. They drift, they wander, they replay ideas, they plan. Their inner world is rich enough that they're rarely truly bored. And this is more than a quirk. A mind that's comfortable being alone with itself is a mind that can think without constant input. And that's exactly where original ideas and real self-understanding come from. The person who always needs noise or a screen never gets quiet enough to hear their own thoughts. So if you've ever caught yourself happily lost in thought, with no stimulation at all, and felt completely fine, that's not loneliness, and it's not boredom. That's a sign your mind has become a place you actually like to be. Most people have never really met their own mind without a screen in the way. The trained mind has. And that quiet familiarity is where a steadier, clearer version of you begins. Sign number 2. They're slow to react and hard to rattle. Watch how they handle a stressful moment. Bad news, a rude comment, something going wrong. Most people react instantly. The emotion hits, and the words or the panic come straight out. But the trained mind has a gap, a small, almost invisible pause between what happens and how they respond. In that gap, they choose. They're not emotionless. They feel everything everyone else feels. They've just trained the part of the brain that sits between the feeling and the action. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, and it's one of the clearest signs of a mind that's been worked on. You'll notice they rarely fire off angry messages. They rarely spiral over a single setback, and rarely get pulled into another person's drama. From the outside, it looks like calm or even confidence. Underneath, it's a skill, the ability to feel a strong emotion and not be run by it. And like any other skill, it was built one stressful moment at a time, by choosing the pause instead of the reaction. And the payoff compounds. A single unsent angry message can save a friendship, and a single calm response in a crisis can change how an entire room sees you. Small pauses, big consequences. Sign number 3. They can change their mind without it hurting. For most people, being wrong feels like a tiny attack, so they dig in, defend the opinion, and argue past the point of sense. Because admitting the mistake feels like losing. The trained mind works the opposite way. They hold their opinions firmly, but loosely enough to drop it the moment better evidence shows up. To them, changing their mind isn't a defeat. It's an upgrade. They'll actually say the rare words, "You know what? I was wrong about that." And they'll say it without flinching. That is called intellectual humility, and it's quietly one of the most powerful mental habits there is, because a brain that can't admit it's wrong stops learning the day it decides it's right. The person who keeps updating their beliefs keeps getting smarter for life. So if you can hear a strong argument against something you believe and feel curious instead of defensive, that's not weakness. That's a mind secure enough to grow. There's a strange freedom in it too. When your ego isn't fused to being right, you stop wasting energy defending old opinions and start spending it on better ones. Sign number 4. They're surprisingly hard to manipulate. We live in a world built to push your buttons. Outrage headlines, urgent sales, social pressure, endless trends all telling you what to think and what to want. Most people get swept away without ever noticing, but someone who trains their brain has a kind of quiet immunity. When something is designed to trigger them, they feel the tug, and then they pause and ask, wait, who benefits if I react to this? They think for themselves. They can hold an unpopular view calmly, sit out of a trend without anxiety, and spot when they're being sold to. It isn't that they're cynical or closed off. It's that they've spent so much time observing their own thoughts. They can tell the difference between a real conviction and a feeling that was planted in them. In a noisy world, that's almost a superpower, being one of the few people who decides what to think on purpose instead of just absorbing whatever's loudest. Sign number 5. They're drawn to hard things, not scared of them. Most people, given the choice, take the easy option, the lighter book, the simpler task, the path of least resistance. The trained mind leans the other way. They feel a strange pull towards difficulty, the problem that's a little too hard, the conversation that's a little uncomfortable, the skill that makes them a beginner again. It's not that they enjoy suffering, it's that they've felt again and again how good it feels on the other side of a real challenge, and they've learned to trust that feeling. Where most people see something hard and think avoid, they see it and think interesting. That one shift changes the entire trajectory of a life. The people who walk toward difficulty get a little stronger every single time. Everyone who walks away stays exactly where they are. So if you ever notice a quiet part of you that's almost drawn to the harder option, lean into it. That instinct is rare, and it is pure gold. Most people spend their whole lives quietly running from the very thing that would have made them stronger. The trained mind runs towards it, calmly, on purpose, again and again. Sign number 6. They notice what other people miss. Spend time with someone who trains their brain and you'll feel it. They're actually there, present. They catch the small detail in a story, the shift in someone's tone, the pattern connecting two things nobody else thought to link. It can feel almost uncanny, like they're paying attention on a different level. And they are. A mind that isn't constantly fragmented has spare capacity to actually perceive the world. While most people are half present, physically in the room, but mentally somewhere else, the trained mind is fully in the moment. It takes in the information everyone else filters out. This is why they often seem wise, or perceptive, or a step ahead. It isn't that they know more facts, it's that they notice more. They're quietly reading the room while everyone else is reading their phone. And the more you train your brain to settle on one thing at a time, the more of the world slowly opens up to you. People will call it intuition. Really, it's just attention, the rarest source there is, pointed at the right thing. And sign number 7. They think in years, while most people think in minutes. Ask the average person what they want, and you'll hear about right now, this weekend, this paycheck, this craving. The trained mind runs on a longer clock. They're quietly building towards things that won't pay off for months or years. They're genuinely at peace with that. You'll notice they're rarely in a rush, rarely panicked. They're not chasing the next quick hit. They're playing a longer game almost nobody around them is playing. This is what real patience looks like up close. Not waiting around, but happily investing today in a version of themselves that doesn't exist yet. And here's the quiet advantage. While everyone else abandons things the moment they stop being exciting, the long term thinker just keeps stacking small efforts. A few years later, they look like an overnight success. They weren't lucky. They were simply willing to think further ahead than the people around them. Time rewards almost no skill more reliably than patience. And patience, like everything else here, can be trained. Now, step back and look at all 7 of these things, because here's what's fascinating. They're really the same skill wearing different clothes. Comfort in your own head, emotional control, the freedom to be wrong, independence, a pull towards difficulty, real presence, long term thinking. Every one of them grows from the same root, a mind that's been turned inward and trained instead of left running on autopilot. That's why people who do this seem to operate on a completely different frequency. It isn't one trick or one lucky trait. It's a whole way of relating to your own mind, quietly built over time. And the person it slowly turns you into is calm, clear, hard to shake, and genuinely free, because your thoughts finally belong to you. And that's the real prize hiding inside all of this. Not just a sharper brain, but a quieter, freer relationship with your own mind. The kind most people never realized was even available to them. Now, let's be honest for a second. You almost certainly didn't see yourself in all 7 of these, and that is completely normal. Maybe you're calm under pressure, but you can't sit still in silence. Maybe you think independently, but you avoid anything hard. That's not a problem, it's a map. The signs you don't have yet are simply the parts of your mind you haven't trained. So don't try to force all 7 at once. That never works. Pick the one that stung a little when you heard it, the one you most wish were true of you. Then gently work on just that for a while. Train one, and you'll be surprised how the others start to follow, because they're all the same muscle. You're not fixing yourself. You're training a mind that was always capable of this. So here's the real takeaway. Every one of these signs, the calm, the clarity, the independence, the patience, comes from one thing: a brain that gets trained a little every day. You are not stuck with the mind you have right now. It's a muscle, and the people who seem effortlessly sharp and steady are simply the ones who've been quietly training it. And by the way, I'm putting together a free brain training blueprint that puts all of this into a simple daily routine. It's coming to this channel very soon, so hit subscribe and you'll be the first to know the moment it's ready. And what I just walked you through is really one piece of a much bigger picture. The way these people think comes from training all 5 mental muscles: focus, discipline, memory, emotional control, and recovery. I'm putting the whole system together in a complete brain training guide that's coming to this channel soon. So make sure you're subscribed, because that's the one you won't want to miss. I'm Simon, reminding you that your brain is a muscle. So let's train it every day. I'll see you in the next one.